having long hair in jiu-jitsu, it becomes a challenge. So we're here to give you some tips, if you do have long hair, on what to do and how we're going to show you how to do it.
Yo, Longhairs, welcome to another episode of The Main Cave. I am your brilliant and handsome host, El Sicario, and today I'm joined by El Jiu-Jitero, our very own resident jiu-jitsu subject matter expert. And the subject matter of today's episode is going to be actually kind of a follow-up to a previous episode about long hair and like what do you do with your hair when you work out. And we want to cover a whole nother spectrum of physical activity, which is martial arts. So who better than our airway assassin, as I don't know. I try to think of anything every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that work? Airway assassin?
Dude, totally, yeah.
You know,
that's
there's
awesome.
like guns, knives, and it's like, how
I
about
dig
just
that. Yeah. I can
choke you out?
crush your throat. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, having long hair and training jiu-jitsu. So, for a lot of the guys, they know, like, it's kind of a thing where it's like, hey, like, why don't you just cut your hair? It's like, nah, man, like, this is my style, man. Like, I'm not going to conform. And so, yeah, that's, but having long hair in jiu-jitsu, it becomes a challenge. So we're here to give you some tips, if you do have long hair, on what to do and how we're going to show you how to do it.
Right on. So what's kind of like your standard tie-up? What do you do with your hair just on your general training day?
Yeah. So normally if I'm going to do just regular training, and competition, that's a different thing. But you want to do something that's fairly quick and just kind of autonomous because, hey, like you just got to readjust really quick before you get into the next round. So what I normally like to do is I like to do a top knot, almost kind of like a pineapple kind of thing. But the big deal is to use minimally 2 ties to keep it pretty tight. And so that's kind of like one of the main things that I'll normally do before I spar. And it shouldn't be like this long setup where it's like, oh man, it's going to take like 10 minutes to do. It's just like, no, man, you got to go in and out because you only got 1 minute rest in between rounds. So it's always best to adjust and make sure you get all those flyaways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, especially because you're like constantly moving, you're rolling around.
Yeah.
And the flyaways will start to get out of control.
Yeah. And so also what I like to suggest is if you're going to do that kind of pineapple top knot, try and go pretty high on the head. As a jiu-jitsu player, everyone knows you're going to be on your back a lot. If you got that top knot kind of in the posterior part of your head.
Yeah, we call that a high ball.
Yeah.
The one on the back of the head.
That's it's not conducive, man, because you're going to feel it. Your head won't be on the mat. And it's not a good feeling. It's happened to me before. And so through the 11 years of training jiu-jitsu, definitely have kind of figured it out where the top knot is the one that kind of works best.
Yeah, I would imagine the high ball is because it's like constantly just getting like rubbed and it's going to come out eventually.
Yeah.
Your head's probably going to hurt like hell too.
Oh yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, man.
No, I was going to say, so there was also an article, or I've even seen stuff floating around that, people say, oh, you're going to lose your hair if you train jiu-jitsu a lot and this and that. And I'll be honest with you, I'm 46, and like I said, I've been training for almost 11 years, and I still got a full head of hair, so yeah.
Dude, you're 46, you look 36.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And again, I attribute that from just training and eating healthy and
living well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And extreme sports, but I don't even consider it extreme. It's just a fun way to exercise for me.
Right on, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the top knot, the go-to for keeping the hair under control. What about hygiene after jiu-jitsu? I know there's like obviously like the sweat and all that, but there's an added level too.
Yeah, so I'm big on showering after jiu-jitsu. Like that's like a thing for me, man. I don't know if I'm OCD about that, but I think there have been cases documented that people have actually gotten staph or MRSA. And so in the hair, and it'll affect your hair follicles. Yeah. And so that's a thing. Yeah, I'm sure you could Google that. But seriously, yeah, guys, you got to take a shower, man. The hair thing also. Yeah, it's always good to get all the sweat and all that. And if you can, try and do like a clarifying shampoo. Not all the time though. You got to do just probably once a month. And some people also say, hey man, you wash your hair too much. And yeah, I kind of get that. But after you train jujitsu, at least minimally, man, use some shampoo, possibly leave-in conditioner after you're done. But again, try and stay away from like those sulfate shampoos and stuff. Cause man, yeah.
Pretty much like the cheap stuff, like the wash your head and your behind at the same time kind of potions.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like obviously, with jiu-jitsu and even like other forms of martial arts, MRSA is always a concern.
It's a thing, yeah.
And as if you watch us all the time, we are constantly talking about having your wash cycle or your wash routine, I should say. So like washing your hair too often can actually be very detrimental to your hair health. But when you're combating things like MRSA, like, man, you do not want MRSA on your head.
Nope.
Anywhere on your body, but man, your head would be a nightmare.
No, yeah.
So if you're going to be washing all the time to combat MRSA, as much as you shampoo, you should always condition. Anytime you shampoo, you got to condition, right? Otherwise, your hair is just going to be ruined, burnt, just not healthy. So you should be conditioning, and especially if you're washing all the time, you should not only condition, but also you should consider using a leave-in conditioner, which is like a second conditioning routine after you're out of the shower when your hair's damp. So not dripping wet, but when your hair's damp, you put in the leave-in conditioner, and obviously, by definition, leave-in conditioner means you don't wash it off after, and you just go about the rest of your day with the conditioner in your hair, and that'll really help prevent your hair from getting like really damaged. In this case, because in this case, we can't say like, hey man, maybe you should cut back on washing, because like as a matter of like your health, you have to shower
totally,
or excuse me, you have to wash your hair more often.
Yeah,
right?
You definitely.
But yeah, so just if you're washing a lot, just make sure you're conditioning a lot, and I think your hair will be fine.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah, it is definitely interesting. Like what I mean, you're rolling around and your every extremity is like now potentially a weapon to be used against you.
Yeah.
But now it's also like, if this hair comes out of this hair tie, man, like I'm screwed. I can't see anything. I can't breathe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But so I know Clay Guida used our hair tie. If I'm not mistaken, Clay Guida actually used our hair ties in a professional fight.
Wow.
I don't know if it went to. I don't remember. This is terrible. I probably should have looked this up before doing the episode. But like we can say that our hair ties have helped guys in their bouts before.
There you go.
And I know we do have other jiu-jitsu players that are customers, and so far, we've gotten really positive feedback. I heard, I'm not a jiu-jitsu player, but I do work out constantly, and everything from like jump rope to, I'm running around with the sandbag. I'm doing all my kettlebell stuff. Our hair ties never fall out. They're designed not to just slip out of your hair, unlike the really crappy drugstore ones. So
yeah, I definitely. I mean, once I found these, geez, like it's a world of difference. And if you're training a lot, stay away from the rubber bands. That will destroy your hair, man.
Yeah, rubber bands. Like, and we're talking about like straight up like office supply rubber bands. Dude, that's like a apocalyptic last ditch scenario if you really need to tie your hair up and you don't have a hair tie.
Yeah.
But do not put rubber bands in your hair. They will rip your hair out, like guaranteed.
Yeah.
It's not great.
And it just ruins everything. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, not good. Don't
Need
do
we
that.
say more? No. Yeah.
Yeah, right on, man. So when you started jiu-jitsu, did you already have your long hair?
It was in the process of growing out, because I think that's when I had left military service, and it was just like, hey, because you're in the military, you got to get a haircut every week or every other week.
Right on. So as your journey with jiu-jitsu has progressed, essentially your hair grew along with that process.
Yes, that's true.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and it's funny because people will come up to me. Well, they'll DM me on Instagram. Hey, I saw you at that jiu-jitsu tournament. I was gonna come up to say hi, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. But that's how people know me. The hair, and people are always like, hey, like I seen you somewhere. I'm like, it could have been from jiu-jitsu, or it could have been from this or that, but the hair is definitely a mark of a warrior. If
Oh
you know what
yeah,
I mean.
dude. I mean, this is like, because of course, we're a company for guys with long hair. We get targeted by haters all the time.
Oh yeah.
And shockingly, they're usually guys that don't have hair. And I always point out, when you ask guys like, "What's your favorite movie?" and you hear like, "Oh, Braveheart, John Wick, Conan, The Patriot," and like, shocking or not surprisingly, I should say, actually, all those movies are guys with long hair.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true.
And so to me, in my mind, you think of like a warrior, right?
Yeah.
I think of guys, these like, big badass dudes with like long hair.
Barbarians.
Right? Barbarians, right?
Vikings.
Samurai,
Yeah, dude.
Vikings,
Absolutely. Yeah.
dude, come on.
Yeah.
Even like Aztec warriors.
Oh,
right? That's in my
yeah.
heritage.
Yeah.
And it's always long hair, man. I'm not saying, of course, that if you don't have long hair, you're not manly. I'm just saying that if you do have long hair, you are still manly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're a perfect example. Like, I would not want to roll with you, dude. And you have this beautiful long hair.
Man.
I mean, case in point, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah. So, man, anyway, well, that's all we got for you today. Thanks for stopping by. And if you love this video, leave us a thumbs up. If you're a jiu-jitsu player with long hair, we want to hear your experience. And if you hate this video and you hate my stinking guts and it's the worst thing of all time, go ahead and give us a thumbs down. I love you too. Anyway, I'm El Sicario.
El Jiu-Jitero. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe.
And we'll get you on the next one. See.